I wanted to wow. I think any person that's creative that creates anything wants to wow people with what they create. But more than that, I took the standpoint of I want to be a resource.
Yeah. What is up, everybody, and welcome back to the podcast. Today we have the man, the myth, the legend, the person who doesn't know that started this all for me, Brent Gwin.
What's up, man?
Okay, so I went to my first camp in 2013, and it was my...
That was 10 years ago.
Whoa.
10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah. We are aging ourselves here.
Wow. Okay. So 10 years ago, that's crazy. Wow. Okay, so 10 years ago, I went to camp, and I didn't know that there was a position where you could make money doing what you love.
Yeah.
And I saw you with the camera, and that was my first time ever being around anything like this, little poor boy from Brinkley, Arkansas. And I was like, dude, I don't know what I have to do, but I want to be that guy one day.
And then years later, you have far surpassed anything that I was ever capable of there.
But, oh no, well, thank you. Let me say thank you. But let's go back. How did you even get there?
Man, from that position that I had at there.
Wait, also describe. They don't know what you were doing.
What you're talking about is the media director for like church camp.
Yep.
The camp that we both attended and grew up in. As time progressed, they went from just like having a regular highlight video to really being media heavy. I mean, I think most places have, especially in the church world. And they needed somebody that could do a little bit more than just edit a camp highlight video. They needed somebody that could do quick turnaround for little video shorts or record things throughout the year, do audio, lighting, things like that.
See, what you're describing, I have no idea about because I wasn't there during that part.
Oh, yeah. You predominant, like your passion was working with the camera.
Yeah, well, no. Well, when I showed up, all I knew was what you were doing. I thought that had always been. Oh. So the daily recap videos, the running media during like just running mics, the recording, the highlight, the DVDs, I thought that had always been. So what you're describing had been built up. It had built up. I had no idea.
I remember when I was like going through kids camp and I think they had like one microphone and like some puppets and an overhead projector that you flipped for the songs.
Okay.
And over time it got more and more.
Yeah. And these are camps of about
500 people.
Yeah, 500 people each camp every week. For 1 month in June, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's all youth, and then the next month it's all kids. Yeah.
Yeah. So. But I had the opportunity when I was in college to go as like a rep for the university I went to and do just the camp video, which was kind of really all that they were really needing at the moment, other than like doing some sound checks and things. And then a few years later, when I was actually working at the district office, working for Youth Alive, which is it's a missions organization that reaches out to local public schools. I was there full time, and so it meant that I got to work full time, getting ready for camp as well. And that's where a lot of the creative side came in. Is like, okay, here's what it's been before and things that have been built up. But now that there's somebody, not that I was anything special, I just had the opportunity to do it full time for months ahead of time.
Yes. Okay.
Like now that there's somebody in a position that can actually spend a decent amount of time preparing of all the what ifs, not what ifs as in like what if something goes wrong, but what if we could do this?
Yeah.
What if we could take it to the next level? I just happened to be the first person that was there that could do that months ahead of time. And so circle back to when we met. I believe the summer that we met was the first summer that I had been in that position full time. I don't think we met that summer. I think we met the next summer. Maybe?
Yeah, I think so. Yes, I think we met And now I'm thinking back.
So I was there 2013.
That was your first full summer?
No, actually. 2013 would have been when I was just out of college. So we probably met 2015. Because I think 2015 was the first summer that I was there like working for the district, not
Yes.
just there like
Yes.
as a rep.
Yes. So here's what happened. I remember now. Maybe Jordan Bland was there. Was he there before you?
He was actually the guy that filled in the like 2-3 year in between of when I did it when I was a college rep and when I did it like as my job.
Oh, okay. Everything's coming back again. Like he said, this was 10 years ago.
And you know, Jordan Bland and I do look a lot alike.
Yeah,
I'm
two white guys.
Yeah, that's about it. He's about he's about 2 feet taller than I am.
No, okay. So you were a college rep 2013.
Yes.
Okay. Some of this is coming back. And then who was the director of like sports and things?
Oh,
Oh,
you're asking the wrong guy. I'm not even
McGuire.
sure. Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So he was there, and then obviously Dane was there. Okay. I think Jordan was there the first year. I wasn't, but he was gonna be there for a while. Like it was clear that it seemed like he's doing a great job. Yada yada yada. Then you came in and you like used what he did, and you took a step right on top of it and continued to progress. And I mean that I remember the first time you did step in, which was 2013. And by that time, I did finally get my foot in the door with like the AG overall. And so I think I was working. No, I had met you. Yeah, I had met you. And so you would show up and you would actually decorate the whole stage.
Yeah.
And that was like the first time that was being done like that?
Yeah, I think years before it had been like they had somebody that was just really good at it. It was kind of their passion. And it had been a few years since it had really been done all out.
Yeah.
And I like being creative and creating on all aspects.
Yeah.
Video and media, things that I did in college with my degree. But I also love the stage design elements, things like that. And thankfully, I had a great boss, Dane Hall, that saw what some of my skill set was and kind of just said, go for it.
Yeah.
He literally would just give me a budget and trusted me. And so, for someone that's highly creative, for someone that is over you, to have that type of trust in you is it's a game changer.
So, and I don't want to talk about this in this episode too much because, but we'll see. Because I want to do another one with you. But in the church industry, like whenever that doesn't happen, that typically they don't give you a budget and just say go with it. Most of the time because they would have been burned so many times before by the media director.
Yeah, it's a valid.
Yeah,
it sucks that it's like that, but it's there's a valid reason that that trust isn't there.
It's not like you're spending people's money who have tied to the church, so you have to be very careful with those.
Yeah.
So it makes sense. But most of the time to us people, it's frustrating when you do get out. So that's awesome that you got the opportunity to do that. Where were you doing specifically at SACGU with your degree?
So when I was working there, I was an admissions counselor.
Okay.
So at a small school like Southwestern where I went, the admissions office was fairly small. And so a lot of schools have recruiters that are out throughout the country going to college fairs. And then there's admissions counselors that are in the office, actually helping people get into school once they've applied. But with a smaller school, I was both. So I got to do a lot of traveling and event planning type of stuff for incoming students. So that was what I got paid to do. But then I also was one of the staff sponsors for Student Congress. And we hosted the top 5 biggest school-wide events throughout the school year. And it's really cool how everything always comes together, because doing that, which was never on my agenda to be, I wasn't in Student Congress when I was a college student.
Yeah.
And so it felt kind of like it was out of left field that they asked me to lead that part of Student Congress. But saying yes to that is what really sparked kind of a passion and enjoyment in the event style planning for big events, which then in turn was really one of the reasons that I was trusted in later positions like at camp, because that kind of gave me the the leverage to go, look, this is what I've done in the past. This is what I can do with even a small budget. And so, yeah, it has all just tied in over, now the course of almost 15 years being out of college. It's all just kind of progressed and tied into one another when it comes to the creative side.
So you were in school, you were doing the creative things, and then you graduated, and so you're coming back home, which is Arkansas. Mm-hmm. And so now you're at that point, were you just looking for like a summer job, or how did that even?
No, I really had a passion for students. The passion started from being an admissions counselor. In my role, I worked really with 9th through 12th graders, getting them into school. And even though I was working with a very kind of niche group that were wanting to go to Bible school, I got to meet so many incredible students, visiting youth groups, going to college fairs, recruiting at camps, that my heart really just turned towards youth ministry. And so when I moved back at the time, there was an opening in Youth Alive. The previous director had been there for 10 plus years. And he had Jason had just stepped down.
I forget. Wait, so you were I'm sorry.
I was the interim director. So they needed.
I completely forgot about that.
So they needed someone to.
And what year was this?
I was in that from beginning of 2015 to end of 2017.
That makes okay. Yeah.
And so for those that are listening that don't know, Youth Alive is technically a missionary organization. And within the Assemblies of God, for a missionary to become fully funded to get out on the field doing what they're supposed to be doing, they have to hit a certain amount of funding before they can start, and that can take anywhere from 18 months to 2 years. So there was this incredible ministry that Jason had led for over a decade, and it needed to keep the momentum going in order for someone else to step into that ministry role.
He's doing a great job.
And so I had the privilege of being able to step in. At that point, I was young and single, and had the willingness to say yes to an adventure. And so that's what moved me back to Arkansas, was to work with Youth Alive in that interim phase. But as part of that, because I was working at the district level, working at the district office, opened the door for me to be heavily involved in camps, which really was the first time that all of this creativity stuff that was kind of the juices that had started flowing in college through theater and through all the event planning.
But you were a theater kid?
Oh, I wasn't until college. That's what's crazy.
What?
Yeah, most people start at way early in theater. And I got there as a freshman. Like my
Wait, you did theater?
In college? Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Brent, you know what?
I could pull up some humiliating photos.
This explains a little bit about why you're a little bit dramatic.
A little bit. No, like before college, the only experience I had with any type of acting was horrifically cheesy human videos.
Wait, so what did you do? What were some of your roles you did in theater?
Oh, man.
I'm sorry, by the way, if none of you watching this are interested in this, but I had no idea.
Yeah. Now looking back then, I was like, this is the coolest thing. I'm going to do this for the rest of my life.
That's what every theater kid says.
That wasn't the case. Learned a whole lot of stuff that I still use, though. I will say that. Probably the one that most people would probably recognize, I was Colonel Mustard in Clue, the stage play. So it's a play that was adapted from the board game. And so I had to physically grow out a handlebar mustache. For
oh no!
I was Model the Tailor in Fiddler on the Roof, which, fun fact, that character has a solo song, an entire song in that musical, and I don't sing. And that
did you sing?
I did.
Oh,
I did. I tried.
You can probably find this on the live stream. I bet.
My mom, I guarantee you, has a video of it somewhere. Oh. She's probably the only one that
did she come down for this?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
She came down from Arkansas to Texas
to hear me mutilate a Broadway classic.
Was it full?
Oh yeah.
Oh. I've heard him sing before, and he knows he can't sing, so I don't feel.
Yeah,
too bad.
It's not good.
Yeah. So I'm like, what?
So yeah,
But do you think you did decent though? At least.
I mean, no one left.
Okay.
Yeah. No one
Okay.
left. No one walked out in offense.
Because with all like the the EQ, like they can, a lot of times they can make someone sound who like can get a melody out. They can make you sound beautiful with the right mixing. But I don't know.
Yeah, this was community theater, so
Yeah,
I
okay.
don't think that level of skill was running the soundboard. So no, I didn't do theater, acting, really anything at all until college, and I got there as a freshman, and I thought, sounds kind of cool, and so I started auditioning, and actually traveled for a little over 2 years with a traveling drama ministry that the school had.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
I'm forgetting so
yeah.
much stuff that this dude has done. That's where we connected the first time, because I was friends with quite a few people who were on a team, and y'all would go places, and
Yeah, we
I had
traveled around the country almost every weekend.
Yes, for
during
like
school.
during school,
Like
too?
in college
Wow.
we would travel on the weekends and go to places to recruit for the school, but then like do a whole drama presentation
crazy.
at churches, and that's really that's what started it. And then I did plays and everything else. Yeah, and
Crazy.
But I had never thought ever, like in high school, that I'm going to go to college and I'm going to get linked up with theater.
Yeah.
But it opened up, like I was able to get a ton of experience in that led me to be able to really go to the next leg of my journey with with starting the Arkansas All-State Drama Team with the Arkansas AG. Like everything that I learned being an actor in a drama ministry, like really formed how I was able to
describe that a little bit more, because like a lot of people are viewing from really not even close to Arkansas, so they wouldn't know.
Yeah, so within the Assemblies of God, there is a program for teenagers called Fine Arts Festival, and it's really a way for kids to develop talents. So it is very similar to like a talent show, but with the idea of that every topic or every category that they have in fine arts could also be used year round for like local ministry within the church. And so they have singing, acting, art, poetry, story writing.
Fact check me, and everyone in the audience, fact check me too. But NF, like the artist NF, he came from fine arts. Like he won fine arts.
I didn't know that one.
Yeah.
The Joe Bros did.
Yes, that's who I was about to say. The Jonas Brothers did fine arts.
Shay Mooney from
The
Dan
same,
Shay.
yes. All these people.
Yeah, there's a ton of people out
So
there.
what he's saying is a big deal, because you compete on a state level, and then you can get advanced to a like a national, like what is it?
Yeah, it's nationals. You compete in your state district with all the local churches, and then if you're good enough, you get an invitation to go to nationals, which is like most of the time is in like Orlando.
Yeah.
So national fine arts is basically like you compete for 10 minutes and then go to Disney World for 3 days.
Yeah, it's crazy.
But it is the best.
And you get college credits, but however,
you get scholarships.
Yeah,
Yep.
you get scholarships, but it's only to like AG schools, which I don't know how they would have fixed that or worked that out, but I wish they would have went to like, you could have got, I wish somehow that would have partnered up with at least local community college.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I could say that about a lot of things.
Yeah, because
about how I wish they could have synced up.
Like I tried to go to SAGU, and like I couldn't get in. Like I can't afford that. Even with me like going to nationals, like or getting invited to nationals, like the scholarship, like it just wasn't worth it.
Yeah, it's like, now don't get me wrong, a scholarship is a scholarship. Like take it because it's free money of some kind. But a lot of times it'd be like, you won nationals. That scholarship will pay for the first 4 pages of your science book.
Yeah.
Here you go. So it's hard. But when I was in college, doing all the theater stuff, because I was at an Assemblies of God school doing drama and doing acting, I got invited a lot to judge fine arts. So judge high school fine arts in Arkansas and Texas. And what I started noticing was that there were like these crazy talented, creative kids that were not only acting, but they were writing their own scripts. They were making it from scratch. And there was this incredible talent and commitment to their craft, but they were doing it for 1 5-minute presentation to potentially get to nationals and only do it one more time.
Yeah.
And they were that was it. That was the extent of the talent that they were using for any type of ministry or any type of outreach. And so,
because a lot of these talents that these, like I say these, did you competed too when you were in high school? Did you compete?
Oh, yeah.
So these things that we competed in, like you would never do a lot of these, or even 5% of these in a church setting. You wouldn't do it. So there are things like you could paint, you could draw, you could make videos, you could preach, you could do comedy, you could
worship dance.
You could beat on drums that aren't drums but are like containers. You could, there's just
you name it.
Yeah, you're never going to do most of this stuff in a church. Like the only time you would do it is to show the church what they're paying their money to help you go do.
Yeah.
Like that's the only time.
And that was like clearly a lot of creativity and thought went into that. But as I started seeing that they have all this crazy talent that you're a lot of it not going to see in a church service every Sunday.
Yeah.
Like I wanted to get to a higher level of creativity of, okay, it's one thing to be creative enough to come up with all these things, but how can we translate that into actually like teaching people to use that as a ministry and not even just Sunday morning ministry, but what can we do to help kind of, not just develop that talent, but to develop a desire to do it year round for a purpose.
Yeah. How can we make this more of a thing for like an actual, because people do a lot of these things for a living. They develop these creativities and passions, which by the way, I hope it doesn't sound like I was talking bad about fine arts. I think that this is amazing.
Yeah. It's
that the church gave you the outlet to do anything like this, especially at that level.
Yeah. It's a great launching pad. I think that's where people go awry a little bit with it is if they think that is the end game.
Yeah.
But if you look at it from the standpoint of being a launching pad to develop the skills that you've got, it's incredible. But I saw a lot, not as much now. I think it's gotten way better. But when I was growing up and doing it, that was the end goal. Like you spent countless hours and countless hundreds of dollars to go to fine arts with the hope that you made it to nationals.
Wow.
And then after that you were done. And so as I started judging fine arts and seeing that, I really started trying to just brainstorm on what we could do to take it to the next level for students that were really gifted in theater and in acting. And for decades, the Arkansas Assemblies of God has had an all-state choir. So that choir is full of kids that are incredibly gifted singers, but they competed at fine arts. So they were doing the competition, but then they could audition to actually use that skill set in ministry for a 10-day tour every summer that they actually got to go to churches, sing in a choir, minister to people, pray for people, all incredible way to see how their gift could be used for God.
Yeah.
And I started to really feel a passion for creating something like that for those kids that could act. And so back in 2011, we launched the All-State, the Arkansas District All-State Drama Team to kind of be like this sister ministry to the All-State Choir. And so we started with 10 kids, and we took 10 of the top acting performers from fine arts.
Let me see if I can
put them on
them.
A bus together for 2 weeks.
I think I can remember. Okay, I know Brendan Davis. No, Brendan Dale.
No, he was choir.
Was he? Okay. Huh. I remember the first time. Wait, you said 2011?
2011. So you were talking about Jordan earlier. He was on there.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah. Okay.
But it was something that.
So I always thought these performances were so well because they would come to our area. There are 12 districts in Arkansas, right?
Oh, 15?
15 districts in Arkansas. So they would go district to district. And,
we would do about 10 services every tour, essentially.
And so they would come to our area, and the performances, like the way the organization, it was so well that I never knew until this moment that drama was started in 2011. I had no idea. I thought they always coexisted since the beginning of All-State Choir, I guess.
No, choir I think was around for almost, I want to say like 20 years. And was incredible for, like I said, still incredible. I went to see them this summer and they were just off the charts good. But up until that point, there wasn't anything for kids that were gifted actors.
Yeah.
And I had seen in college like that drama has a really powerful way of expressing the truths of who God is, and which was really important for me to convey to people. And so I was able to take what I was doing those first 2 years of college, traveling around the country with my college group, and do that in the summer with what started as 10 teenagers the first year, and then got up to I think 14 one year. And yeah, we took 10 very dramatic teenagers and crammed them in a very small bus for 2 weeks and hit the road and traveled all over Arkansas.
That's awesome. Wow. Huh. So it really sounds like you, over these years, you've had like building blocks of just something creative, something that you're passionate about that not is necessarily creative, but honestly, it seemed like it was all creative things that once they built up on them and people are watching from the outside, they saw that and gave you like more blocks to build up on to where you got to the position that Joe Klein in 2013, 2016 walks in and sees you there and just, had no idea of all these blocks that have been.
No, it's such a good way of putting it, because in my experience, I think a lot of people that are highly creative think that it has to start every time at the like ground level. But what I've seen is some of the best creatives that I've worked with start with what they've been given. And I think it's a humility thing too, is a lot of people, because let's be honest, for someone that is highly creative, pride can come into the mix quite a bit.
And it's a big problem, especially with church. Like, have you ever tried to tell the sound guy to turn the music down, and you saw the face that they gave you?
Most of the time they just would mute me after that. Yeah,
like so it's a problem.
Yeah, and so I think because of pride, we want to oftentimes like do away with everything that's been done before and start completely over so that we can say, I did all of this.
Yeah.
But I think it's another level of leadership and another level of creativity to look at what's been done before and say, how can I build on it?
Yeah.
So like the idea of having multiple videos and stage designs and all these things that intertwined at camp, none of that was new. Like other places had done it before. I was just able to take what I had seen and build on it to match what we needed, what matched the culture of our camp, the culture of our area. Same with what I did with the All-State Drama Team. Drama ministry wasn't anything new. Wasn't like I was starting from the ground level. I was able to take the idea of what I did in college with the incredible ministry of the All-State Choir that I had seen, and be able to morph it into something else. And so I look at the span of my adult life and the opportunities that I've been given, and they've all just built on one another.
Yeah.
And because of that, you've always got something to go back to kind of pull from as a resource when you are going on to the next thing.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, and another thing with that too, people just have to realize, and I don't mean this in a disrespectful way to Arkansas, but Arkansas is low poverty. And so that being said, there's not just as many resources. Whenever there's changes that need to happen, they're typically slower because it is like it's almost a whole state, not all of it now, like Northwest Arkansas, Little Rock's getting better, Conway's coming along. But other than that, like everyone likes the way things are. And so even trying to make one move, it's like, moving the chair, one time every Sunday to get it completely off the stage. That's kind of the steps you have to take. So that being said, I'm sure that like you literally couldn't even have come in and did an overhaul. Like it's just, that's almost not even an option to where like it has to be these little steps that you did. Because I even seen the little steps, because when you were there working in that position from, when did you say you started as media director?
Throughout college from, I think, 2009 to 2013.
Yeah.
And then back in it from, I did camp 2015, 2016, 2017.
And I'm not. So here's a perfect example. And I'm not gonna say, I don't even remember if this fully happened during your time. I feel like it did. The camp, all the way up into my graduating year of high school, 2016, they were still doing DVDs.
Oh yeah,
DVDs, not digital downloads, not USBs, DVDs.
I at least talked them into doing flash drives.
Exactly. And that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So it had to be these little steps into, I don't even now know if they even
Just Dropbox that thing.
Yes,
Yeah.
like literally this will save you $1,500. But it's these little steps that people just, I want something tangible. This is how it's always been done, to where you have to go from DVDs forever and then 4 or 5 years of flash drives to now here's a digital download.
Yeah.
Which is just easier for everyone. And camps have been doing this probably since 2013. But it's these little steps that we have to progress in to make big change overall.
Yeah, I think not just part, I think a lot of it, when you're looking to make change, is to know the culture that you're in.
Yeah.
And not just knowing like, okay, there's this level of income, there's this percentage of ethnicity. I'm talking about know your culture as far as how long it takes to adapt to something new, what people's idea of change looks like. Are people scared of change? Are they, and why they're scared? Are they scared because they think it's going to cost more money? Are they scared because they're scared because they're going to look incompetent because they don't know how to do it? You know, there's a lot of things that you have to look at to start that type of change.
Yeah.
I know you hit on a minute ago, because there's still a lot of parts of our state that are very low income. So just on an individual basis, there's a lot of poverty. But with the demographic that I was working with in churches at the time, I think it was like, the stat at the time was like over 85% of the churches that came to camp were less than 100 people. So we're talking about small churches without budgets of really any kind for any type of media, any type of the creative arts.
And you guys have to remember, this was before COVID, because COVID did change a lot of this. But
Now everybody's pulling out their phone to do a Facebook Live. But back then, that was not the case. And so one obstacle that I had to overcome was that idea of, are people scared of this because they, one, are scared of how much it's going to cost, or they're scared of the reaction to people thinking they spent a lot of money on it.
Oh,
because when you're in when you're in a higher level of leadership, it's not just about how much it costs. It's about what is people's reaction going to be to us spending this much money on something. Because there were always people that thought you could have made camp $10 cheaper per kid if you didn't do that. There's always people like that. And so that was a big hurdle. But I took it as not a hurdle to like be angry at or to kick over. I took it as a challenge on how can I turn creativity, the creative arts, how can I turn it into a resource for other churches? So every year that I did the stage designs, and I wish I had photos of it because they were like legit stage designs. They were over the top. Every year I did it for less than $400.
It's crazy.
Because like had I gone to my authority and asked for $2,000, they probably would have said, yeah, make it look cool. But I wanted to do something that any church there, even if you had to do like a bake sale, anyone can raise $400. So I wanted to provide some ideas and inspiration for any church that was there, any youth group that could take what they saw and literally do that same thing or something like it in their church. I mean, going to big conferences with outrageous $100,000 stage designs, and
that's
incredible.
Like,
that's incredible.
People would come from here and go to churches like the Oaks, and they see how beautiful, how gorgeous these facilities are.
But for most people, it's unattainable. Their budget, and so I wanted to create something that people could go, "That's awesome," and I can do that.
And they did too. By the way, you would see, like, I remember the year that I'm specifically talking about. Whenever I first started working there, And I have this memory burnt in my head. Your dad always reminds me every time I see him, he's like, he'll put his arm around somebody. He was like, hey, you know, I met this guy doing a handstand on a skateboard coming down.
Every time I bring you up to my dad, that's what he says.
But that same summer, they were all there, and you were doing the wood wall on the back, and they had light shooting up it. Mm-hmm. To this day, if you go and check out a lot of lives on people's Facebook,
they still got it.
They did that. They immediately like, oh man, I can take pallet wood and literally create this. I'm doing it, and they did it, and now that's what you see. Yeah,
and light towers out of the what are the filters? Like
it was like
AC filters for your house.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
so I still see things like that.
Yeah.
But I wanted to. I wanted to wow. I think any person that's creative that creates anything wants to wow people with what they create. But more than that, I took the standpoint of I want to be a resource.
Yeah.
Just for people to go, wow, I can do that.
Yeah.
And so even to the background videos that we did behind the worship slides, the motion loops, the graphics that we did, all of that we had made, we were able to put on a Dropbox, and we gave the link out to every single youth pastor that was there.
Oh, I remember this.
Yeah, and that's really the thing.
Yeah. We used those at our church.
And all of those were from camp because we wanted to be a resource. And when it came to overcoming that financial obstacle of what are people going to think, it didn't take long at all for them to start seeing it as a resource for them, not just as flash.
Yeah.
Because I know you're the same way. Give me something flashy all day long. Like I think it's great just for the sake of it being cool and flashy.
Yeah.
But for people that don't have that creative mindset all the time, it can seem excessive and unneeded. And so if you're looking for a way to convince those type of people of it, and there's nothing wrong with those kind of people. Like I need people in my life that will ground me.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
But if you're looking for a way to convince that type of person the value of what you're able to create, showcase it as a resource.
Yeah.
And what it's capable of doing, not just in the moment, but for other people long term. And time again, that's what really started the process of me being able to build those, like you said a minute ago, the building blocks.
Yeah.
Every time something like that happened, it was just another block for me to be able to put in the staircase to take the next step to go on to something a little bit bigger to do.
There's a lot of people who are great creatives, but I think one of the things that honestly, and you've described it so many times, that set you apart, and I mean, not to sound boastful, but also me as well, is that you can buy the cameras, you can know the cameras, you can know how to do the lights, you can know how to do the sound, you can know how to design the best venue, but the fact that you're going in as a problem solver first.
Yep.
Like you're saying, here's a problem, and not only that you see a problem, but you have discernment for the problems that you see. Most media guys, they go in, or creative guys, or honestly anybody, pastors, business owners, like you all know what I'm talking about. You go into a situation, you start a business, you start a new venture in life, and you see so many problems, but you don't have the discernment to realize which one is the most important one. And for us, clearly, and honestly, I can say it, now that you're bringing up these memories, I'm like, dang, yes, that was me too. The problem that we both identify with was the finance. Like we want to make everything that we do look nice, look obtainable, and also be able to be a resource for other churches. Like that has always been, like now that I'm thinking about it too, that's always been like the goal, especially with working with camp. And honestly, even outside of camp, working at, the events that we would have, what was it, district councils or just Timothy retreats, all the different things, thinking like how, there's another me out there. There's another me from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Looking at me. How can I make what I'm doing look obtainable to them?
Well, and I think what I had to learn quickly in my journey was the importance of a team, because it ties back into that pride thing that I mentioned a minute ago. is I think so many times when when you are highly creative and you're working on a project, you want to be able to say, I did this. Look at what I did.
Yep.
And because if you're not careful, if you have that mindset of, I have to do it all because this is my project, this is my baby. If you're not careful, that mindset can take you down the path of seeing a problem. And if you don't know how to fix the problem, you just ignore it because you don't want to either admit that you don't know how, or you're scared that somebody else could come in and do it better. And that's where, as I started a journey into leadership in several churches, was I think the most successful creatives are ones that can embrace creativity within a team.
Yeah, delegation.
And
and it's one of the hardest things for anybody, especially creatives, to do. And circling all the way back around, where are we at? We're at about 42. Yeah, so circling all the way back around, I'm glad you brought that up. That's how me and him got connected.
Yeah.
So you had your first... so basically, the media guy would get a. Were they even paid all the time? Were they always paid your assistant?
When I was in college, the university paid for me to be there as a rep, and then I just they needed somebody to do what I could do, and so I did that job. But the school was paying me, and then I think later on after that they paid like a meager amount. But I think you were the first. And then when I was there working for Youth Alive, I was going to be at camp anyway. So I was getting paid, but it was through Youth Alive and through other.
So it wasn't direct
other channels.
pay.
Yeah. I think you were the first person because you took over after I left. I think you're the first person that got a full paycheck to just do.
Oh, I wasn't even talking about that. I was talking about the assistant. I didn't even know that the guy, the guy wasn't getting fully paid.
Oh, no.
Wow.
Yeah.
Huh, that's crazy.
And thankfully, you were so excited to learn that your pay was a bed and meals. But yeah, it was.
Wow.
In fact, you were probably the first person that I had a chance to start delegating things to, because in my early 20s, I hardcore struggled with wanting to do everything myself because I felt like I had to prove myself that I was capable of doing the things that I wanted to do. And so you were probably the first person that I ever trusted to start handing things over to. And then, like I said at the beginning, I started handing things over to you, and then you far surpassed what I was ever capable of doing there.
He judged my films during Fine Arts, by the way.
I did.
So let me
anonymously.
Let me try to bow this up. So basically, what ended up happening is, and I'm learning a lot through talking to you that I didn't even know. So I started doing my first film competition. I think that's where I'm getting confused. In 2013, and I did a short film, and they judged it. It didn't make it to nationals, but it was literally 2 points away, and it was my first thing I've ever done, video wise, that serious. So then, Fine Arts happens in the fall or in
happens
spring?
In the spring.
Yeah, so that was
the
spring.
week before spring break, I think.
Yes, that was spring, and so obviously at these events they're highly promoting camp, those different things, and so they promoted camp, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna go to camp. I went to camp. You were there as a rep. Jordan was there as a media guy, and I don't know why, but I think at that moment I wasn't the most interested in having that job yet. It wasn't until I just went to camp and fell in love with what camp was, the different perspectives that I got to see from kids all over the state, places that I could go, I could see in them.
And let's be honest, the media director had his own golf cart. So it's probably a little bit of that. A little bit of the glamorous life of wanting the golf cart.
So I went then, and then the next year I was like, dude, I wanna be here. So literally, that's 2013, 2014, I worked all year and I bought out every camp.
Yep.
And I just went to camp, and I remember Dane just being like, dude, I seen you last week, you're here again. And then I was like, here again. And I would literally, I forgot how I made money, but somehow while I was at camp.
Dude, there were times when we were working together so closely that you had about 18 different hustles going on, like fixing cell phone. Like,
yeah, that's probably how I made the money.
You could cut, and all legal. Like, I don't mean this sound like you were doing shady stuff, but I've never met anyone that could come up with money as fast as you. Like, you'd be like, yeah, give me 30 minutes and I'll have $200 because you could do it. Like, you knew how to do it all.
And there was like, when I went into camp, I found that there was like a lot of these rich white kids, and I was like, broken screen. Let me Amazon it. And then I think that's how I think that summer is definitely how I got through camp, is fixing like 1 or 2 phones every other camp. And then that would pay for my, and honestly, like there was some favor that came into that because some of these camps were sold out. So Dane would allow me, he would figure it out. He would find me a bed.
Yeah. Well, I think that's how it started some too, because there were like camper beds were out, but that's when we started getting the idea of you coming to help me.
Yes. I'm trying to remember now. How did it work to where I was dishwashing but also helping you at the same time? Because I dishwash. Oh, I think what happened is the first time I began to help you, I think you had a guy before me too for just one camp. Here's what happened. I dishwashed. I came as dishwasher 2015. That's when I finally got paid to go to camp, which was amazing.
It's a good transition.
I was like, okay, I'm not paying to go to camp anymore. I'm getting paid to go. And obviously I'm working the whole time, but I'm just happy to be there. But the first 2 weeks of camp, you had an assistant.
Probably.
Brendan Yoakum.
Okay. Yeah.
You had Brendan Yoakum, and then he was doing something with choir or drama.
Yeah, he had only signed up for those 2 weeks.
So then you needed someone, and then I was able to help with the dishes, get everything done, and then come over and help you after.
You didn't sleep.
Yeah,
I remember that. You literally did the job you were being paid for, and then immediately came over.
Yeah.
So like no breaks during the day.
Yeah, you would give me a camera, and you would say, hey, go film dodgeball, go film. Yes.
Yeah, because that was the summer that I had my back injury.
Yes.
And I for those of you watching, I had it 2 weeks, 3 weeks before camp. I broke my back in a car accident and spent 6 weeks in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is the most humid place on the planet. 6 weeks in the summer in Hot Springs in a fiberglass back brace that went from here to here. So needless to say, I did not like being outdoors filming that summer. And so, because it was so hot, and you stepped up, and anytime that you weren't doing kitchen stuff, you would come grab the camera and you would go film. Yeah. And you would edit. Yeah, you'd bring the camera back to me. Yeah. And that's the first time that I was like, holy cow, like this kid's good. Like the framing, everything is awesome. Because I'd had some other people, and this isn't about, I know you mentioned Brendan a second ago. This wasn't him. I had some other people that would be like, hey, let me film. And I'd give them the camera. And I think my 2-year-old could have framed things better. But I gave it to you. And it was like flawless. I was able to use all of it. You were doing angles and ideas that never even crossed my mind. And after that week that you came to help me, I talked to Dane and I said, is there any way that we can get this guy out of the kitchen to come over and do what I'm doing? Because, you always want to try to find and train your replacement. Yes. And even though I didn't know when that day was coming, I knew that it would. Yes. And so
any good leader, any good creative, if you're a role model, you will learn and you will know that they're good if you know that they exit well. Yep. No matter the situation. No, it's no exactly matter how terrible they got treated and you saw it, they exit well.
Yeah. Several years ago, I read a book that was titled something along the lines of The Top 10 Mistakes Leaders Make. I think it was the title. And the whole book is like what not to do, essentially. Yep. And the very last one, number one, because it goes from 10 all the way up to 1, the number one failure of any leader, and I think it's especially true with creatives, the number one mistake that leaders make is leaving without a replacement.
Well, yeah.
And it just hit me really hard because, again, when you're the one creating, that's yours.
Yeah.
And it can be really hard to turn that over to someone, not just to turn it over and say, I'm done, but to hand them everything that you did. It's one thing to exit and say, I'm done with this season. I'm done. I'm ready to move on to something else. But to equip them with everything that you were doing.
Yeah.
And to teach them and train them and to create a successor for you is huge. And if you don't do that, and this is, in my opinion, in any type of creative environment, it doesn't matter how skilled you were, how creative you were, whether you started from the ground up or whether you adapted things that were already there, you could have made something that was life-changing. But if you don't end well and don't leave behind a legacy for a successor, it doesn't matter what any of that other stuff was. You failed. And so that's what I've always tried to do in everything that I've done is to know when a transition was coming to moving on to something else. Seeing that and then doing my best to find the right person and to train them.
And I will second that. He's done that. He's done that very, very well. And like to the point to where if you're not yet developed those skills, you don't know that that's what's going on. From the outside in for a long time, I looked at it as like you were staying way longer than you should stay places because you could tell, or I would know that you were leaving, but you weren't gone yet. But that was the reason why. Because you were making sure that the people who hired you, who trusted you with whatever task, that they had someone, whatever skill level they're at, who was ready to take the reins. In some capacity. Sometimes those situations are hard, and you don't always have, like, you can't get the person to your level. Most of the time, it's very difficult to do. But just saying, here is someone. Well, giving the people the option.
And I think as hard as it is to hand over something that you've created to someone else, as hard as that is, it's even harder to watch something that you spent so much time creating crumble because you didn't. And that's what I had to learn the hard way in college and in the early years out of college is, I didn't want to give it up. I wanted to hold it all because it was mine. And I was the one that started it, so that I needed to do it all. It was in those things that I didn't give over, power to a successor. I didn't delegate. I didn't train because I was the one creating it. And then when it was time for me to leave, it was for nothing because no one was able to carry it on. And again, just to reiterate, as hard as it is to hand something over that you love, that you created, it's even harder to see it crumble because you didn't properly find someone that could continue on the legacy. And now that I'm even older, not only do I enjoy handing it over and training, but now like the best thing that I can see from something that I created is somebody else take it to the next level. Because there's so much pride for me seeing like, man, I started something 10 years ago and now look at where it's gone because somebody was able to take it in a place to the next level that I was never capable of.
Someone was able to step on my head and go higher.
And man, it's such a great feeling. Maybe, and I think a lot of that started when I became a dad because now it's like, now I see everything as
100%.
As I'm just like myself, I'm growing roots to provide shade for the next generation.
100%.
But not just with my daughter, but in all areas, like getting to be a part of not just creating, but training other people to do the same thing and watching them thrive in it in a level that I never could have done. Man, it's the most fulfilling thing. And that's what you've done. Like, dude, I may have taught you initially how to do a highlight video at camp, but now watching you setting up all of this, I'm like, I would not even know where to start because you far exceeded anything that I would have ever been able to do. But just knowing that I had an opportunity to be a part of that starting journey for you, man, it's incredible to know that I even, was able to just play a small part
Yeah.
in the story of what you're doing now.
Yeah. And I'll say this, like closing out, I'm so thankful for people like you, people like Dane, people like Ben Andrews, people like, I'm just naming names that you guys will never know. Most of you watching this, but these people saw me, gave me an opportunity, and yes, while I did take that opportunity and run with it, I would have never had the opportunity to run if I never got the shoes to walk in.
Yeah.
And so I'm so thankful. And that's one of the reasons why I wanted to jump on with you, because you were one of those people for me who was that building block that gave me a path to be where I am today. So thank you for coming on.
Yeah, man. Thank you for inviting me. This was awesome.
Yeah. All right. Thank you guys for watching. If you guys want to hear some other awesome talks, then guess where you can click? Right here. Tell them to click there. What are y'all still doing? Click here.
Click it.
Peace.